It always starts the same way.
Miss, don't you cry about this car, miss.
You're late for work, you double park for just 2 minutes to grab your overpriced oat milk latte. You come back and boom, there it is. A fluorescent yellow boot clamped to your car like a radioactive bear trap. Cue the existential crisis. And then it hits you. Oh no, I'm in a Parking Wars episode, aren't I? Because once upon a time, in the golden age of cable television chaos, there was a show that took America's most soul-crushing adult experience.
Find a place for him.
I'm gonna straighten them out.
All right, we're gonna take one more, Sherry, for good luck.
Getting a parking ticket, and said, yeah, let's turn that into entertainment. And people watched. Oh God, did they watch? Welcome to Parking Wars, a reality TV show that aired on A&E from 2008 to 2012, and managed to transform the simple act of municipal extortion into primetime drama. This wasn't just a show, it was a spiritual experience.
Friday the 13th. And if you believe in superstition, it's not supposed to be a very lucky day.
A chaotic confession booth for society's worst instincts. The raw, unfiltered drama of meter maids, boots, tow trucks, and everyday people realizing, often too late, that no parking actually means no parking. It had it all. The despair of a booted car, the rage of a $75 ticket, the unbridled arrogance of someone saying, I was literally gone for 5 minutes.
This could be the start of something beautiful. Or terrible.
And through it all, a Greek chorus of Philadelphia Parking Authority workers, stoically enforcing the law with the emotional detachment of DMV philosophers. Parking Wars promised gritty realism, and for a brief, glorious moment, it delivered. Before it too got clamped. To understand Parking Wars, we need to go back to the late 2000s, a time when reality TV still believed in itself.
I was obviously disabled in some way.
But God is the main man that makes me keep going.
Before everything became a reboot, a remake, or a live-action version of your tax return. It's 2008. A&E, the network best known for making middle-aged white guys cry on Intervention, needs a new hit. Something real, gritty, cheap to produce, and what's more real and more soul-sucking than parking enforcement. Enter the Philadelphia Parking Authority, which locals refer to with great warmth as Satan's personal side hustle. A&E teamed up with the PPA to follow their workers through the mean streets of Philly, documenting every passive-aggressive ticket, every emotionally unhinged tow, every booted car that unleashed a Shakespearean monologue of rage and denial. The concept was simple, 3 segments per episode. First, the citation crew roams the streets, like bounty hunters with clipboards. Second, the boot team hunts down repeat offenders and slaps the wheel of misfortune on their cars.
I didn't do nothing. I just bought it, and the guy gave me the tags. I just bought it yesterday. I still got the title. I ain't get it registered yet.
Third, the impound lot, aka the DMV's final boss fight, where angry drivers plead, bargain, and occasionally cry in front of dead-eyed clerks who've seen too much. Parking Wars hit something deep in the American psyche, our collective hatred of small authority figures with too much power and zero remorse. It was the spiritual cousin of cops, but instead of guns, they had clipboards and orange vests. Instead of crime, it was parking.
I've been through worse stuff than this. You know, I got shot in 1990. I just thank God I'm still living.
And yet it felt just as tense, and people loved it. They really loved it, especially when the show expanded beyond Philly to Detroit, turning parking enforcement into a nationwide spectator sport. And if that wasn't enough, there was even a Facebook game, that's right. In 2009, you and 400,000 other masochists booted your friends' virtual cars for fun. It was Farmville, with municipal violence. In its first few seasons, Parking Wars was a sleeper hit.
See it from here.
They talk to you so nicely, like they're gonna pay you.
Not quite mainstream, but enough of a cultural parasite to be called a hit series by A&E's PR team without too much shame. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't polished, but it was real, and that made it addictive, too addictive. From guilty pleasure to just guilty. It was all fun and games, until people actually started watching.
See, he tore out the wheel. Just gonna slap a boot on here real quick.
The first cracks in the asphalt appeared in 2009, barely a year after Parking Wars premiered. What began as a scrappy, docu-style look at urban bureaucracy started to feel uncomfortable. Because while the rest of America laughed at tow trucks and tantrums, Philadelphia was quietly losing its mind. City officials were the first to snap. Merrill Levitz, head of Philly's tourism board, publicly begged A&E to cancel the show after receiving hundreds of emails from tourists who said they were actively avoiding the city. Not because of crime, not because of sports riots.
When somebody takes the boot off and we recover it, it can become a dangerous situation.
But because parking wars made Philadelphia look like a hostile maze of boots and bad attitudes. Yes, a reality show about parking was damaging an entire city's reputation. The mayor's office admitted the show was not helping. Governor Ed Rendell boycotted it outright. The Philadelphia Inquirer called it an unmitigated flop and demanded A&E pull the plug. A&E's response? Season 3. But now in Detroit. Because if one struggling city hates your show, why not traumatize another?
In the post office, so they think it's okay to do that. But in Center City, you can't do that.
And this wasn't just a PR issue. Parking wars had a tone problem. What started as observational TV slid into spectacle. Screaming civilians? Zoom in. Someone breaks down? Add cartoon sound effects. A person cries over a boot? Hit them with a womp womp. The show didn't care why someone was towed, only whether the footage popped. It wasn't realism anymore. It was emotional poverty porn. Critics pointed out that boot teams were disproportionately filmed in poorer neighborhoods, not rich shopping districts, not quiet suburbs, just endless blocks of dented sedans and people who couldn't afford a surprise $300 impound fee. For many viewers, it stopped feeling like reality TV.
As you can see by the way the boot looks, it's quite bent.
And started feeling like a poverty patrol. The editing made it worse. Cheap zooms, awkward pauses, reaction shots stitched together to manufacture cruelty. One infamous moment showed a man begging to get to work, voice shaking, cut to a clerk, deadpan. Silence, then whomp. Audiences laughed, until it dawned on them, this wasn't The Office, this was real. Even internally, not everyone was thrilled. Some Philadelphia Parking Authority employees hated being on camera. A few became local celebrities, Yogi, Ponytail, but many refused to be filmed, worried they'd be harassed or mocked off duty. One impound worker summed it up perfectly. This show made everyone hate us more, and then expected us to smile about it. But the higher-ups, they loved it. PPA spokesperson Linda Miller proudly claimed the show boosted morale. Her defense to critics was brutally simple. If you don't want a ticket, don't park illegally. Incredible. Someone greenlight her podcast. A&E insisted nothing was staged, though they openly admitted to cherry-picking the most exciting cases.
Hey guys.
Translation: maximum conflict, minimum context. Then the real scandals hit. Off camera, the Philadelphia Parking Authority wasn't just unpleasant, it was rotten. In 2016, Executive Director Vince Fennerty resigned after multiple sexual harassment complaints. Worse, an earlier complaint had quietly disappeared the year before. Suddenly, parking wars felt less like trash TV and more like foreshadowing. In 2017, Pennsylvania's state auditor revealed the PPA had misplaced $77.9 million, money meant for schools and public services. Gone. Vanished. Like your car when you forget to feed the meter. People started connecting the dots. The same cold, unaccountable bureaucracy clamping your car over a minor ticket.
The hardest thing in this neighborhood right here to do is find a meter spot. So you figure once they get the meter spot, they'd at least feed the meter, you know?
Also running a financial black hole and a toxic workplace culture. Parking wars hadn't exaggerated anything. It had accidentally documented institutional dysfunction in real time. Even fans turned. Early reactions were cruel but playful. Just watched a guy cry over a boot. Best episode ever. By the mid-2000s, the tone shifted. This show is why everyone hates Philly. YouTube compilations went viral, not out of love, but disbelief. Titles like Parking Wars, the most depressing show on earth, started popping up. People weren't laughing with the show anymore. They were laughing at the system, and yet it kept going. Season after season, A&E milked this bleak little empire of boots and bitterness until 2012, finally pulling the plug after 103 episodes. By then, even the Facebook game was dead. RIP to every virtual car we booted for fun. Looking back, the collapse of parking wars wasn't just inevitable, it was poetic. In trying to humanize bureaucracy, it exposed its worst traits: pettiness, arrogance, and total lack of empathy. And the PPA? It doubled down. Scandals, cover-ups, mismanagement.
Philadelphia is the worst city to live in. They rob you, Another happy customer.
while remaining the most hated organization in Philadelphia. And that includes the Eagles when they lose. Parking Wars didn't just jump the shark, it booted the shark, towed the shark, charged it a $300 release fee, all while smiling for the camera. So what happens when a show built on raw frustration runs out of steam? Simple. It becomes Parking Wars Season 7. By its final season in 2012, Parking Wars had gone full reality TV autopilot. What once felt like a spontaneous glimpse into bureaucratic chaos was now a paint-by-numbers parody of itself. Every episode became a rerun of a rerun of a rerun. New city, same angry drivers, new impound lot, same monotone clerk, new season, same sad saxophone music over a booted Honda Civic. At this point, Parking Wars had the emotional depth of a fax machine.
It's a BMW. I hope you can afford the $26 ticket.
And that's the problem. The show didn't evolve. It didn't escalate. It just looped forever, like a purgatory made of parking meters and passive aggression. The storylines became as predictable as the fees on a Philly toe slip. Viewer reactions changed too. What started as LOL, this is wild, turned into, wait, are we the bad guys? Twitter comments shifted from meme energy to moral exhaustion. Reddit threads dissected whether the show was unintentionally dystopian. One YouTuber called it The Handmaid's Tale, but for cars. Let's not forget the editing.
Get me?
The things I could do to him.
Those once funny sound effects now just cringe. A boot hits the ground, a woman cries over a $300 impound fee, a man yells that he needs his car to take his sick kid to the hospital. Cue circus music. There was no nuance left.
Here and see if we can spot it maybe over here. Maybe they threw it over the fence.
Just a cycle of humiliation slathered in artificial tension and low-budget dramatics. And what about the PPA? They tried to salvage their image with community events and helpful social media posts like "Don't park illegally and you won't get a ticket," which is like a dentist posting, "Don't eat candy and you won't get a root canal." Thanks, Linda. But the damage was done. The show had become a meme factory with a badge, feeding the internet with gifs of rage, despair, and bureaucratic indifference. People weren't watching because they cared. They were watching to feel better than the people on screen. Worse yet, the internet started using parking wars as a term in everyday life. Two neighbors fighting over a driveway? Parking wars. A viral video of a guy saving a space with a lawn chair? Parking wars. Some psycho using traffic cones to reserve a curb spot? Parking wars. Civil war. The brand lived on, but the show itself? Empty, hollow, just background noise for people who'd already seen every episode of Hoarders and wanted a side of moral decay with their lunch. In the end, Parking Wars wasn't even a guilty pleasure anymore. It was just guilty. Parking Wars wanted to be relatable.
I bought the car of the guy. And I told him you got tickets on it.
A gritty, street-level glimpse into everyday urban conflict. But in the end, it didn't make anyone feel seen. It just made them feel watched. For a brief moment, it struck a nerve. We laughed, we cringed, we said, damn, that could be me. But somewhere between the yellow boots, the crying drivers, and the dead-eyed clerks, the show stopped being about real people and started being about punishment. What was meant to humanize the system ended up exposing just how broken it was. We saw families struggle over minor fines, workers take pride in enforcement that felt like oppression, and an entire city reduced to a meme about bad attitudes and worse parking. And behind it all, a government agency collapsing under the weight of its own corruption. The irony? Parking wars didn't need to fake anything to be outrageous. Reality was already ridiculous enough. So what do we take from this? Maybe the real war was never about parking spots. Maybe it was about how little power it takes to ruin someone's day, and how easy it is to turn that into content. Like and subscribe. And remember, if you're ever booted, towed, and fined in the same hour, you're not unlucky, you're just content now.